Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gone Fishing. I'm your host, Connor, CEO at Phin, and I am joined once again by the wonderful Alex Farling, co-founder at Empath. Alex, how are you?
I'm good, Connor. How you doing today, buddy?
If I were any better, I'd be having twins.
If I didn't know the end of that story.
Yeah. For folks who didn't watch the last episode we did with Alex, he's a recovering MSP, so congratulations on the remission, Alex, so far. Now it's yours.
Still recovering. I didn't say recovered.
He goes back to the doctor every so often.
It's a lifetime thing. Yeah. You got to get treatment forever.
And we had a great conversation around differentiation and what it actually means, how you can, MSPs, there's a lot of you in a geographic location potentially fighting over the same opportunity. How can you actually stand out? So highly encourage you go take a look at that. And today, Alex, you've recommended we talk about a super spicy topic that actually I've had many conversations publicly and privately about. So I'm glad you suggested it and not me, which is public pricing.
Yeah.
Why don't MSPs or their vendors tend to have public pricing? What's your thoughts?
Well, while you were prompting me and asking me what I wanted to talk about when we come do this little talk, I'm literally on chat support with a vendor going, hey, I went to your pricing page and there's literally a tab on your page that says pricing. And I get there and there's no pricing and there's plans and a whole bunch of call us, contact us, this, that, the other. I'm like, can you just give me a ballpark for pricing? So I know if my tiny little startup can afford your big, expensive, fancy software. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I actually really don't care about your time, but I don't want to waste my time. So can you give me a ballpark? And the guy says, yeah, if you'll just give me your email address and all of your contact info, I can send that over to you. I said, no, thanks. I don't need your spam. I just need to know your pricing. Oh, well, we can hop on a call. No, I don't need you to give me my phone number. You can just send me your pricing. He's like, oh, well, we really have to customize it for your company and blah, 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 blah. And I literally, my response back to him was, no, thanks. I value transparency in a vendor. And I'm going to go work with your competitor who has their pricing on their website. And that was the end of it. And I did. I went and worked with their vendor, with their competitor. But then I see MSPs, go through the exact same thing that we struggle with as vendors and go back and forth. Vendors go back and forth with it for a different reason, right? We have and I'm going to call it an excuse. Maybe that's a little bit abusive language, but we have the excuse of I don't want my MSP's end customer to know what they pay for my widget because they may be line iteming it on an invoice and doubling or tripling the price. And I don't want their customer to come back to them and say, oh, well, you paid $1 for this and you charged me $19. I don't think that's fair. There's a lot of complexities and intricacies in vendors passing their pricing down to their end customers through an MSP. But for MSPs, you could count on one hand the number in this industry that will actually post their pricing on their website. And a lot of them say, I'm so expensive, nobody would ever meet with me, or I don't know enough about their environment to be able to help them, or I got to go build it custom for everybody. And as that recovering MSP, my answer to all of that is just bullshit. You walk in the door, you look around the office and you go, $1,800 a month, I can do this. And then you run a network detective to make sure you're not wrong. Right? You go run some sort of a scan and make sure that there's not something on the network that you weren't aware of. But your gut tells you. So there's another reason that we don't want to do it, and there's a reason we don't want to talk about, which is we're afraid somebody won't knock on our door and ask us to come meet with them if they already know what this is going to cost. And I think that's so interesting because we would rather somebody who doesn't have the budget, who's never going to have the budget, who doesn't take security seriously enough and doesn't care, we'd rather they come engage with us and waste some of our time because we get so few leads that every lead feels good. We'd rather go out and talk to that person than spend our time doing something more valuable. That's typically, in my mind, what this boils down to. I'd love to hear your take on it, though.
My take would be the following. On the previous episode, we talked about your differentiator is largely centered around talking to somebody like they're a human, educating them. This was one of the differentiators you can make. And then really get into the bottom of how can I best serve your business in which ways? What security do you need? What support do you need? What do you not need? Sometimes it's easier. So I could definitely get the perspective from an MSP of like, if I put a number up there, it's always going to be too high. And there always will be customers, you put negative, you're paying them $5. Their answer is, why aren't you paying me 10? Like, you can't please everyone. I feel like what I'd really like to see is like your pricing page should be the following. A disclaimer, it is impossible to know how I can actually best serve you and what price that'll come at unless I talk to you, period. Then with Customers of this size pay around this amount. Customers of this size pay around this amount. If you're really interested in what is included in those amounts, here is a PDF that has the line items of the stuff we really like providing for you. It's like, what did you do there? You made it very, and if you make the text at the top too small, they're just going to see the number and click off the page. So don't do that. It needs to be front and center. It is impossible to really know. However, I'm interested in helping you as much as I possibly can without wasting any time. Here's the information you might be looking for.
If you basically spit that out verbatim, the way that the author of one of my favorite books, They Ask You Answer, says you should handle it, right? There is a world where you don't sell a widget that you can put a dollar value on and say our widgets are $2, and if you buy 100 of them, it's $200. Math is easy. Like we can do this on a pricing page. It doesn't excuse not letting someone know that proper cybersecurity is both complex and expensive.
Yeah.
We're not going to be the cheapest people in town, but here's why you might want to do business with us anyway. And here are some of the some examples of what a customer might spend with us. And when I used to do sales, it would always bother me when when I was selling for my MSP, you talk to a sales coach and like, oh, we got to practice overcoming price objections. And I have offended some sales coaches in this industry pretty deeply when I said, if you're getting a price objection, it is your fault. Your price should come up on your first conversation with the customer.
Yep.
What do we do in the first conversation with the customer? I mean, you gave me a great one on our last webinar. Like, I'm trying to decide whether or not I can work with you.
Yeah. Have you already made up your mind?
Yeah. I mean, I go through the asshole test, right? Is this somebody I want to work with? Once I get past the asshole test, then I go, is this somebody I can work with? Does he have enough computers? Does he value technology enough? Does he have a budget? And the quintessential sales problem is, how do I ask somebody if they have enough budget to pay for this? And it's really not that hard a question. But I can't just come to you and go, Connor, do you have a budget for this? Because what does your brain immediately do when I say, you got enough budget for this? How much is your budget, Connor?
I don't know.
I don't know. And probably I don't want to tell you, because if I tell you $3,000, you're going to quote me $2,999, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to, that feels like a personal thing to ask. But if I come to you, instead of asking Connor how much money is in your bank account, just say, hey, Connor, a customer your size typically spends between $2,000 and $3,000 a month on this kind of service to really see the success with the problems that you're having. If I came back to you in a price range of $2,000 to $3,000, could we be friends? Or are you going to throw me out of my ass?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. Nobody's mad. He's probably laughing at me for being a little self-defacing there. And we can move the conversation forward. And if he goes, oof, that's 3 times what I pay my current guy, then we can jump into, well,
what are you getting?
Sounds like you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Are you happy
worth
with
it to you? Yeah. You called me for a reason. And probably because maybe you're not spending enough on, I always used to say, congratulations, you're getting exactly what you're paying for. And I'm sorry, you're getting exactly what you're paying for. And then we move on. But this is an opportunity to get my no early, not waste a bunch of time with somebody who would have just been a time waster because their budget really is $29. Yeah. And the opportunity to set an expectation for that customer who really does want to do business with us. So public pricing starts to set that, or at least some expectation of public pricing. I have seen MSPs, and I think this is super interesting to talk about. I'm aware of 2 that actually put a per seat price on their website. And it's entertaining as hell to me to watch other MSPs come to them and go, that would never work in my market. That there's no way that works. You're leaving money on the table. You're screwing up you're screwing up that. And they just go, well, how much revenue did you add last year? Yeah. And the MSP who's criticizing them goes, well, I brought in 5 new customers. And they go, I brought in 27.
Yeah.
And the amount of business these guys are bringing in just by making their pricing public is insane.
Yep.
And they have half the sales team of the companies who are delivering half the results.
Yeah.
It is really, really powerful. And I said this on our last episode, and I'll say it again. Help desk service is going to become a commodity. You're going to have a big player who actually doesn't suck at it doing help desk service for $50 a month in the next couple of years.
Yeah. HDAAS, help desk as a service. Throw AI in there. AI powered help desk as a service.
I mean, we can already get it out of the Philippines, right? And now we've got chat support solutions that will, clean up their grammar along the way and do all kinds of fancy stuff while we're communicating with these folks. So I don't have to talk to them on the phone and deal with language barrier. That stuff is getting really good. And in the next 3-4 years, it'll get amazing. You won't know where your help desk support is coming from, or you won't care. we've got products out there in the space that are automating help desk processes and literally letting a really inexperienced person just click next and watch the automation go do the thing that it does, right? Pia is doing some really interesting and cool stuff around that. Roost is doing all kinds of cool self-service stuff. Like there's a lot of automation products coming out there that are going to make help desk just quick and easy, right? Oh, we got a new user starting tomorrow. Okay, is he in finance or sales? Oh, he's in sales. Click button, get new sales guy, right? And all the stuff will just provision itself. It's not that far away. So if you're still clinging to, I've got to charge, hundreds of dollars per seat just to answer the phone and have a pulse on the other end of the phone so I can help this guy make sure his printer works. It's going to be a race to the bottom. I just really believe it. So putting that pricing out there and then helping folks understand that there's more to technology than just help desk support, right? We're in a world where privacy legislation's back on the table in Congress. Security standards are being raised either by state and local governments or by insurance requirements or regulation in a specific industry. The value add for the MSP is not the price anymore. It's the thing you can do that helps them be insurable, the thing that you can do that helps them make sure that they actually can achieve their compliance obligations and continue to run their business, right? FTC safeguards has probably tripled what every auto dealership spends on technology. They used to spend nothing. And now they all have to conform to FTC safeguards. It's not like they can say, no, I'm just not going to do it. Ford calls them and goes, thou shalt do this to keep the big blue logo on the front of your dealership. And so they have to spend the money. So it puts MSPs in a great spot, but being afraid to just say, hey, the average medium-sized car dealership who's dealing with FTC safeguards spends $10,000 to remediate the issue. Why is that not on somebody's website somewhere who focuses on that and specializes in that?
For some customers, that might be a lot of anxiety right out the door. They're like, that's it? Oh, that problem goes away? I'm good. Mm-hmm. Here, give me your phone number.
And your mileage may vary based on the complexity of your operation. Like, it's really not that tough. But you get somebody on the phone who at least is in the ballpark. And I always used to say, I always used to pick the number I thought I was going to land on and then something 20% higher or 25% higher and give them that bracket. And then I could always come back and go, congratulations. I'm happy to tell you it's not the high end of the bracket that we were thinking of.
It's actually
somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Well, sometimes, but those weren't the comfortable conversations. Sure. I mean, that can always that can always blow up in your face, but it will save you more time and energy than it will cost you in the long run.
Well, there's a way to address that too. Break it down. Say, hey, my initial estimate was way off. If we found a couple of things that I initially wasn't included or didn't recognize that it'd be really complex to help work with you on. Here's what I came up with. We can go through line by line and we can figure out is like, where did we go wrong? What do you actually need? What do you not need? But
it was usually something like you told me you had one line of business application and you have 14.
Yeah.
Right. And they go, what do you mean? We only use this, we only use some specific CAD solution that operates. Well, here's the other 13 that I found. Tell me which ones of these we can throw away to lower the price.
Right? Do you know this is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was usually an eye opener for those folks. It was a tougher, longer sales cycle, longer conversation, but it was eye opening to them. And then they look at you as the consultant who gets it and not just the IT guy who came in and went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 computers, $2,800 a month, sign up tomorrow. Right. Yeah. Instead, we know and understand our customer's business, and then we have a stickier relationship.
What's your thoughts on MSP focused vendors putting pricing on websites?
If you're an MSP focused vendor, I think it 100% belongs out there. At Empath, it was a no brainer. We just put the pricing on the website. empathmsp.com/pricing, lifecycleinsights.io/pricing. My entire vendor career, I've put pricing front and center. I'm not afraid to tell somebody that we're not a cheap solution. I'm not afraid to tell somebody that we're an affordable solution, right? We deliver a good product at a good cost. That's always been my mentality. The only complexity I'll put up against that is if you are a vendor who might sell direct. Or either sells direct or has a sell-through motion where an end customer might be involved in pricing to a point where that could make your MSP uncomfortable. And at that point, my advice would be just make it really, really frictionless for somebody to be able to get pricing. If I had chatted with that vendor and said, hey, I don't see pricing right on the website, and I just want to know before I waste everybody's time if this is even in the ballpark for me, right? Is this a $100 solution or a $100,000 solution? If they had just said, oh, here's a PDF with our pricing in it, or here's a ballpark of what somebody would spend with, an 8-person organization for this. is it worth continuing the conversation? I would have stayed in that chat and I would have continued the conversation. Probably would have scheduled a demo. By saying you can't have pricing until you talk to me, and there's no obvious button to click on the website to talk to me without having to give you my soul so you can market to me forever. And MSPs fall into the same trap. Vendors are usually a little better about it, but not always. If you're not going to put your exact pricing on your website, put a button where they can get a hold of you really quickly. Schedule a call. Hop on with us right now. Call us at this number. We'll answer all your pricing questions, and don't make it too prohibitive. You don't need their social security number, their birth date, and how many years they've been in business in order to give them some ballpark pricing, right? And the same goes for vendors, right? You see these things. It's like click to schedule an appointment, and then you got to answer 17 questions. And I understand what the vendor's doing. They're basically profiling your MSP to see how much effort do I want to put into trying to sell this guy. Is he a big whale that I need to bring the big guns in to close? Is this a small customer that maybe isn't in our ideal client profile? Maybe we don't want to work with them at all. That's what they're trying to do. But creating a friction and a barrier for pricing is just super uncomfortable.
I'll tell you where we ended up. We actually put our pricing on our website and had a bunch of our partners complain. They're like, nah, like my clients will see that. I'm worried. And I did two things. We took the pricing down and made it really accessible. If you ask our chat, if you fill out a form, it's like, I don't want to talk. I want to know about pricing. What happens? You get sent our pricing. Hey, I'll probably call you one more time because I got your number now. Here's the pricing though. Tell me to F off if you really need me to. And the second was I went back to those partners and I said, I understand the sentiment. If the only thing keeping your client from signing up with me directly is my goodwill, because I don't want to work with them, I want to serve this community. And the second is the gap between what you sell my services for and what I charge you for. It's like, you have way bigger problems to solve. Like
you're not wrong.
You have way bigger problems to solve.
And Ray Orsini handles this really well. If you ever chat with him, he's got a very strong channel conflict policy where if a customer is using his service and then an MSP comes in, he'll transition the circuit to the MSP and pay them a margin in between. And he has it very well documented, very well defined. And that's my point is just let's not add friction around pricing. Because sometimes somebody's just picking up the phone and going, I'd like to know if I can afford to work with you before I spend a whole bunch of time falling in love with somebody who's just way out of my ballpark. And the slimy sales guy is going to go, yeah, but maybe you could close them, right? And maybe you close them for a year. And a year later, after your contract's up, they go, man, that just bled me dry and I just can't afford to continue doing it. And then they leave you with a bad taste in their mouth. And they tell somebody else, God, he's so expensive. I could never work with that guy again. I just don't get it. That's the difference is, I even want the people who leave my company to go, the folks who don't wind up working with us. And we're experiencing a little bit of that with Empath right now. That person who comes in, tries you out and churns out and says, you're just not delivering the value I need yet. You're brand new. I get it. You're building a new product. It's okay. Like, we'll be back. You treated us well. And that's what I want from an MSP, for somebody who says, you're too expensive for me. I want to find out early and that's okay. I'll say good things about you because we had a really good frictionless conversation. You supported me. Maybe you gave me some advice on the way out when I said, I really can't afford you. You said, oh, well, there's this guy across town who does a really good job and doesn't offer quite the security suite that we do, but decent dude and might be in your ballpark. That's a good way to get a referral from somebody else who comes in and says, well, maybe I have a bigger, fancier need than my friend did. I can afford the big guy. Maybe I'll go to the big guy. I just think there's a way in which you can address pricing without it having to feel gross. And that may be the right place to end it is, if it sounds gross or if it feels gross, like you're holding something away from a customer and dangling it to get them on the phone with you or to get an interaction. If you think it might be gross, it really is. Yeah.
I think that's a great place to end. Great advice too. Alex, for folks who wanted to connect with you or connect with Empath, where would you want them to go?
Yeah, you can check out Empath at empathmsp.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Alex J. Farling.
Awesome. Folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll have links to Alex and Empath in the show notes. Feel free to reach out and connect. Alex, thanks so much for joining me. It was a blast to chat and always enjoy our conversations.
Always fun, buddy. Thank you.
Talk to you all soon.
See ya.
As always, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Gone Fishing. If you want to find out more about high-quality security awareness training campaigns, how to launch them in ways that actually engage employees to change their habits, then check us out, Phin Security, at phinsec.io. That's phinsec.io, or click all of the wonderful links in our show notes. Thanks for fishing with me today, and we'll see you next time.